Hey guys, how's it going? So before we start, I highly recommend watching the original short. I'm sure you'll enjoy it far more than if you watch it after my commentary, critique, review, in-depth analysis, whatever you want to call it. So having said that, have you seen it? Good, let's begin. When I first saw the teaser trailer for this revamped, remade, rebooted, re-recorded, reimagined thing, I was excited. It looked intriguing, but my first and overall initial thoughts when seeing the teaser was, you know what? I get it. I get why they made this. When you compare the original Star Wars lightsaber duel to all following lightsaber duels based before and after the film, the duel itself looks kind of, well, out of place. It's a lot slower, less choreographed, it's stale, it's stiff, it's just two old men holding their sticks and waving them at each other. So out of all the lightsaber scenes that need to be addressed and remade, I think this would be priority number one, especially since this is the last time Obi-Wan faces off against his former apprentice. I mean, Star Wars now has us believe that only a few years prior to this, Obi-Wan sliced and diced Maul like a samurai warrior, and only a few hours to this, Darth Vader took on an entire fleet of rebel soldiers single-handedly, and yet we're expected to go from this to this. But thanks to this film, this goes to this. And it makes a lot more sense. It gels together quite nicely.
It binds the galaxy together.
So the idea and intent behind it looked promising, and then I watched it. Overall, I was very impressed with it. 2 years of work and you can see it. The quality and budget seems quite high and rich. The cinematography is amazing, outstanding. The costumes are great. But there are just a couple of nitpicks I do have to bring up because nothing's perfect. So as much as I really liked and enjoyed this fan film thoroughly, the most consistent nitpick I have is the contrast between new scenes and the originals. And sometimes the scenes transition together quite nicely, but the other times you can just see the massive cinematic difference. Remember when you played a video game based on a film, and it plays a movie clip from the film, but then it plays a game cutscene and you can see where one ends and the other begins? It's kind of like that. Now speaking of contrasts, another thing that I couldn't help but notice in this fan film is the look of the costumes. By themselves, they look amazing. In fact, if they only had the new footage in this entire fan film, I would not have a single issue with any of them. With Darth Vader's, the fact that this fan film contains footage of the original Vader as well as the reimagined one only highlights the differences in their appearance. You can clearly see a difference. The original Vader has a thinner face, mask, thing, whilst the new Vader looks a lot closer to his Rogue One self than he does to his New Hope counterpart. Now with Obi-Wan's costume, it's quite clear what they've done. They superimposed Alec Guinness's face onto the stunt double. And hey, I think that's fantastic, a great idea. Makes the whole thing feel more authentic and closer to home. But it works in some shots, but not in others. Sometimes the head placement looks kinda goofy. Kinda like when they put Tim Morrison's real-life face on his CGI clone body in Revenge of the Sith. See what I mean? Speaking of keeping it authentic, James Earl Jones's dialogue from the different films makes an appearance as they restructure Vader's lines to give him better dialogue. Hey, it's a fair idea, but the problem is you can hear the background noises and music from those scenes.
Our long-awaited meeting has come at last. I will show you the true nature of the Force. Our long-awaited meeting has come at last. And I will show you the true nature of the Force.
I just think if you're going to use James Earl Jones, for the sake of using James Earl Jones, make sure his words don't sound stitched together to form new sentences and it sounds natural, or otherwise you might as well just use a voice artist that sounds a lot like Vader, kind of like what StarWarsStory did with his fan film.
I will not be denied.
If they used the original lines of dialogue, it wouldn't have been so bad. Moving on. The choreography was great, it seems to fit the characters quite well. I've already said we're led to believe what Obi-Wan and Darth Vader are capable of around this era. I'm glad they didn't make it over the top with Duel of the Fates spins and kicks and flips and It's quicker, they're more powerful, and it just makes sense. We have an exiled Jedi Master against the Dark Lord of the Sith. I would expect a bit of carnage. And also, when you compare this to all following Vader scenes, to me, it feels like it expresses how much he's holding back against Luke. The lightsabers look good, more prequely. I did like the soundtrack choice. It was Vader's unofficial first theme, which you hear numerous times in A New Hope, and it features again in Rogue One. I like that they used it. It really helps you settle in with the idea that this film is a part of A New Hope. But the following tracks I'm sort of 50-50 about. They used the track Anakin's Dark Deeds from Revenge of the Sith. I understand why they've chose this. It's a fast-paced action scene, and of course with a fast fight, you'll want fast music to go with it. In fact, in Disney's animated shorts, Star Wars Galaxy of Adventures, they do use prequel music in the original trilogy scenes, and I think it's pretty cool. It really cements all the episodes together. Obviously episode 4 came out before the prequel, so I was hoping music-wise it were treated as such. Now this last track I instantly recognised was from Lucas King, and if you guys haven't seen him, I highly recommend subscribing to him. He does these beautiful covers or alternative versions of the Star Wars soundtracks and other films. But when I heard this track, for me, it took this fan film out of A New Hope and turned it into just a tribute to A New Hope. This is just a tribute. It sounds more like a tribute than actually composed by John Williams and the London Orchestra. That being because it's a different style and uses different instruments, of course. And also, on top of this already tribute-sounding track, the film decides to add audio from Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin screams, "I hate you!" towards Obi-Wan, to which Obi-Wan replies, "For my brother Anakin!" And again, for me, this throws the fan film out of the movie and turns it into just a tribute, rather than as part of the film. And I didn't want this to be a tribute. I wanted this to be a possible replacement for the fight scene in A New Hope. Yeah, that's about it really. I think this was a fantastic work of art. It did what it set out to do. And one thing I respect about this video, it doesn't claim to fix or improve anything. It's just an idea. What if the fight scene in A New Hope was choreographed to the later Star Wars standards? And personally, I think in some ways it is an improvement. Alright, if you're still watching this video after all this time, I can't thank you enough. I'm probably going to review AdyWan's fan edit, considering he actually addressed this scene first years ago. I don't actually post videos that often compared to a lot of channels, so please subscribe with notifications on. I like to do these for fun. Okay, take care guys, may the force be with you.